Eileen, the heart healer, is back. Thank you so much for being my support system. She's a great coach, great conscious channel, Akashic record reader, medical intuitive, radio show host, and speaker and author. Like I am like her ideal client. um, when I read your bio, I was like, yep, that's me. That's me. So when she says that she combines over 50 years in nursing and 25 years in vibrational healing, it gives away her age as well, which is like, that's how long I've been alive, 55 years. So you got a long, you're like, you could be my mama. And I kind of feel like you are in some way, you know. Uh, I love you dearly, and thank you for being there for me, honestly. You literally are like, you're helping me with everything that you say that you're doing. Like, I can attest to that. Like, I can start crying right now. But you help people like me, entrepreneurs who struggle with self-sabotaging, negative thoughts and behaviors and self-worth issues, and help us experience inner peace that we need so we can have empowerment and feel confidence in ourselves and identify our soul's purpose. She is a nurse, a healing touch practitioner, medical intuitive quantum practitioner, Ho'oponopono practitioner. She works with thousands of people from all over the world, and she's willing to help you remove all your root causes of any issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, any stress, any anxiety that you issues that are facing right now. Today she's going to be speaking about, are you going to be doing essential oils?
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. It's going to be whatever comes out of my mouth. This morning I did speak about essential oils, but I'm just going to let it flow however it needs to. All
Okay.
right.
So we're going to allow her to be the open channel at this point. And if you would like, you can have the floor for the next hour if you want. Is that okay?
Okay. Sure. Sure.
Okay, so you got it. So enjoy the next hour, everybody. Special moment. And we'll allow time for Q&A at the end.
Whoa, this is wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for choosing to share this special time with me and with all of us here at the Healers Network. This experience of this event has been expanding for so many people, and this is only our fourth session. And my hope and prayer is that this venue allows for the portal that it opened to keep expanding so that we can be in service to those that our message, our vibration, our presence speaks to, because we're all different. And that's the beauty of having this type of a collaborative experience where in one space you get to choose from so many different practitioners that have different gifts, different energy presence, different backgrounds, and different services that they offer. So I hope that all of you that are here with us now are enjoying. Those of you that are watching on the live stream, click on that Zoom registration link. Come on in, join us in the main Zoom room. I'm gonna gift another raffle, another door prize, just because I feel like it, and I'm guided to. So, but you have to be present to win. So come on in the door. Just find that registration link in the post underneath where you're watching live stream. Invite your friends. Come on in for a visit. Okay, we're going to do a couple of different things. I'm kind of getting a feeling for what it is that we will be doing. And I believe that we're going to do a little bit of Ho'oponopono. We're going to do a little bit of a meditation. We'll do a little Q&A. And I am going to start with a little bit about essential oils. I do think that because I did speak about that this morning, I want to speak about that just a little bit more this morning. And if you have any questions about aromatherapy or essential oils, or any questions at all that you would think to ask in a reading, if it's not personal, if you don't want to ask something personal, then don't. But if it's a more broader question, please put it in the chat, and I trust and know Sheri will monitor that. And when we're ready to do that, we'll go through and see what we can do to respond to your questions, because Akashic Records readings are question driven, and the client is the one that brings the questions, and you can ask anything. It is my joy to language it in a way that ideally we get to the root of whatever the issue is or problem, so that you can receive great value, right? So I wanted to talk about essential oils today, which is why I did this earlier this afternoon, because so many people are looking for natural, holistic, supportive tools to help them stay healthy, especially during this time of this pandemic with COVID-19. We're looking for ways that we can boost our immune system. So the talk that I gave earlier was all about looking at how we can support our immune system from that holistic perspective. And what that means is whenever we look at something from a holistic model or a holistic perspective, what we're doing is we are honoring the true holistic model, which means that we are physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic beings. And so when all of those different aspects of who we are in balance, we feel wonderful, right? And I laughed when Sheri was saying my 50 plus years of nursing experience, and she's pretty much been alive during all those years of experience. And yes, it is dating me, and that's okay. I am going to be 68 this September, and I'm very proud of it, to be honest with you. I feel well, and I attribute the fact that I feel well to the lifestyle choices that I've made. And I'll be your mother anytime. I would consider that an absolute privilege and honor, but I would have been 13. I don't know that I would have had you at 13. So as a nurse, one of the things that I loved the most about being a clinical nurse was patient education. And so whereas I refer to my clients as clients, not as patients, and I haven't done clinical nursing since 1986, I was involved with clinical nursing until 98, but not in the hospital setting. I worked as a nurse legal assistant, believe it or not. And so I did healthcare law. I worked for a firm, mid-sized firm that did healthcare law. And so we did medical malpractice defense work. And so my hands have been in the clinical arena more than they have not. But I love what I do now in service. And it brings me great joy to do energetic healing, to do medical intuitive readings, Akashic Records readings. I love coaching entrepreneurs, because what the truth is that when you look at things from a holistic perspective, anything that you see in your business or anywhere in your life, whether it's about being an entrepreneur or not, is always going to be a mirror of who you're being in your relationship with yourselves. So as the heart healer, it is my soul's purpose to remind everyone, whenever I possibly can, that our soul's purpose for being here, the reason we're in a body, is to remember how to be a loving presence in this relationship with ourselves first. It's not about first how to be in a loving relationship with someone else. Because if we're in loving relationship with others, then we're already achieving that with self. But when we see that our relationships to other people, to things like our businesses, to our pets, to our family, to our friends, to our political system, to anything, is problematic, then the only place to look is not outside of ourselves, which fosters a very victim-conscious perspective, right? It has all to do with who we're being with ourselves first. This is the magical key that unlocks creating our heart's desires, that unlocks creating a joyful and peace-filled life. So if you're struggling with any part of your life right now, if in spite of the pandemic, don't make the pandemic be the excuse or the reason, because people are thriving during this time in spite of. There are always going to be problems. There are always going to be different things that will be limitations to each and every one of us. But isn't it interesting that it may be a limitation for me, but not for you? Or what might be a limitation for you may not be for me. Why is that? Because the external dynamic is not the issue. The only issue is what's going on inside of us. And so when you look at the outside and you don't love what you see, there's only one place to look. And that's within. Not for judgment, not to be in expectation of any one thing or another. It is truly, simply the way it works. In Ho'oponopono, and I was going to talk about essential oils, I think I'll circle back to it. I'm going to follow what I'm feeling guided to say, so bear with me. Hopefully it will make sense, right? Okay. So Ho'oponopono, for those of you that are familiar with it, and please note in the chat if that's something that you are familiar with, right? Ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian process of problem solving. So I'm just curious, I'll let Sheri monitor the chat for me because I can't do both. And just when you have an idea, if anybody has responded during a little break in the talk, let me know approximately how many people have tuned into it or have learned it or use it or love it, okay? So Ho'oponopono, for me, was a lifesaver. A lifesaver in so many different ways. And I want to explain why, right? And this is a very personal story. And I hope that it's okay with you that I share it, because it is because of this story that I am passionate about teaching it to all my clients. And why, when I do my monthly new moon call, my new moon clearing call, it's incorporated into the clearing process. It's that powerful. So I have been in practice for over 25 years as a facilitator of healing, utilizing vibrational healing techniques, Akashic records readings, medical intuitive readings, et cetera, et cetera. And for about 10 years or more, I have practiced Ho'oponopono, and I say that very intentionally because it wasn't a daily practice. It wasn't anything that I had studied. It was literally something that when someone was on the healing table, if I was guided to, I would use it within the context of a session. Not always verbally. It would be something that I would be thinking. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. But that was it. I never attached to understanding it. I just trusted and knew that it's what was needed in the moment. So a couple of years ago, it was Christmas week, and I found that I couldn't stand up straight. My back was really not okay. And on top of that, as if that wasn't bad enough, I had vertigo. And I'm like holding on to things as I'm moving around my house, and I'm going, this is not good. I'm not having fun with this. And I couldn't get an appointment with my acupuncture person who I adore. It was Christmas week. She was booked. So she gave me some suggestions for how to, where to put seeds, adhesive back seeds in my ears to help with getting the chi, the energy moving. And I used my essential oils because I use it for everything. And nothing seemed to be moving as quickly as I would like it to. And I wasn't doing any work because I couldn't focus, couldn't do it, right? So that Tuesday was Christmas. This started like Sunday or so. By Friday, I was feeling a little bit better. And so I went on Facebook just to check in, because I connect a lot with clients and potential clients through this social media platform. And what was in front of me as soon as my computer opened was Joe Vitale's face and a video ad, right? And for any of you that have seen that ad, it is a Facebook ad for the Ho'oponopono certification program, right? 95% off. Click. And I'm going, this is something that must be showing up for a reason. So I sat in my kitchen and I turned, I started watching the number of videos. It's the sum total of 2 weekend workshops working with Haleakala Hulen, right? And Ho'oponopono, in case you're not familiar with it, was used by Dr. Hulen, or Haleakala Hulen, to work with the patients at Hawaii State Hospital in their criminally insane unit. He was asked to come in and doing exclusively Ho'oponopono. He has a PhD in psychology, so he did not do client sessions. He did not sit in on staff meetings discussing the patients. He literally had their charts and did Ho'oponopono for everything that he read, everything that he felt, everything that he intuited, everything that he experienced in reading these charts from these people. That criminally insane, for those of you that are not familiar with that term, are people that have been found to be incapable of accepting responsibility for their actions consciously. And so they've committed a criminal act, and most of these were fairly dastardly deeds. These were not lovely people, right? But they couldn't legally be accepting responsibility, so they were found legally insane, unable to accept responsibility for their actions and their choices. Okay. Like now with the shootings, explain please, what does that mean? Oh, that is someone, yes. If someone who did that, who chose that act, was assessed for their ability to stand trial and understand what's going on during the trial, that they really understood their choices, their actions, and the consequences, then they would not be considered criminally insane. They would stand trial as a criminal for their actions. If, however, they found someone to be unable to understand the process, that for whatever reason, they really they were not fully understanding their actions, then they would be ideally labeled as criminally insane. And they would be, whatever that sentence would be, if they received a sentence, they would do so within a state hospital. And most of them don't even have a sentence because they can't stand trial. So if during their time in a state hospital, they are able to stand trial, that something shifts in their ability to understand and take responsibility for their actions, then indeed they would stand trial. And the results of their, whatever the sentence would be, they would then experience that sentence within whatever aspect of the penal system they would be living in. So in fact, in a little over 4 years, Dr. Hulen, that's Hewlen, for those of you that are not familiar with him, sat in this office with these charts, and in a little over 4 years, the unit was closed. And the reason it was closed was because it went from patients being shackled, wrists and ankles, because it was so unsafe there and such a violent environment, people walking with their backs against the walls, because they felt so unsafe. Staff having a lot of absenteeism because it was such an unsafe and unhealthy environment. And it went from that to the unit being closed because everyone was either able to be in a different type of facility, or in one instance in particular that I remember hearing about, there was one gentleman who so embraced Ho'oponopono that he requested the judge see him so that he could then prove that he was able to stand trial. And ultimately, he lived out his sentence. They moved him from Hawaii to wherever his family was because there was such a profound change in who he was from the time he committed the acts that he did to where he was when he finally stood trial. And all he did was Ho'oponopono sitting in an office. I figure if it can work for something like that, it can work for anything. And indeed it does. So, personal story. Well, let me just stop for a minute. Are there any questions about anything that I just said before I go on? I'll watch your face for a yes or a no, Sheri.
Give me a moment. Let me see. We didn't know
Sure.
the Q&A opportunity. They're engaged.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Then I'll continue. So, when I was a child, way back when, right? I lived in an environment where I have parents that on the outside, everyone would have said that this was a loving, wonderful household, but it was challenging. And so without going into a lot of details, because this is a very public venue, I want to say that I experienced PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, from childhood experiences. I came into this world conscious, an empath, very aware, and no one there to help guide me. So as a very young child, I shut all my gifts down because I could not handle the sensory input, which happens to a lot of people now. We have more and more, as Carol mentioned this morning, we have more and more people coming onto the planet that have never been in a body before, that are very energetically sensitive, that are empathic, which means they feel other people's feelings. And so I developed PTSD as a child. And when I woke up in 1993, 94, this was an issue that I addressed and really thought that I had resolved it and was so grateful. And a couple of years ago, I had an experience with a family member that basically said to me, no, not completely healed, still have some work to do. And for 9 months, I looked for something in my toolbox that would help me with this because I was so not functioning. Could not stay grounded. My energy field was not able to stabilize. For the first month when this happened, I had a colleague working on me every day that does beautiful matrix work, just like I do. And every time I would have a trigger, everything would get disrupted. And we all know what that feels like when our energy system is disrupted to the extent that we can't think straight. Our emotions are all over the place. Physically, we don't feel well, but sometimes we can't even put our finger on what it is. We just know we're not okay. And so for the first month, she worked on me every day. After that, it was whenever I got triggered, I would have to message her and say, I need help again. And this went on for 8 to 9 months. And now we fast forward to Christmas. And I'm sitting at my table and I'm watching and learning about Ho'oponopono and understanding what it is. So initially, Ho'oponopono was a facilitated process. So the ancient Hawaiians which is a society that's about 2,500 some odd years old. But through Channel, I'm told that this process is much older. It's galactic in origin. So it's very, very old, tens of thousands of years old. So something that's been around that long, to me, is worth paying attention to. And so the head of the household, or in Hawaiian, ancient Hawaiian culture, or the kahuna in the community would be the facilitator. And everyone would have to be present and that was involved with the situation, and they would have to say, I love you to everyone in the room. They would have to say, I'm sorry for whatever they did to contribute to whatever the unrest or problem was, because this was a culture whose core value was peace. And anything that disrupted that peace needed to be addressed immediately and taken care of, because otherwise the community's peace would then be disrupted as well. So, I love you, I'm sorry. They'd have to ask for forgiveness from everyone in the meeting. And they would have to say, thank you. They'd have to express gratitude for each other. And until everyone could do that wholeheartedly, the process continued to be facilitated. Once everyone was able to do that, the process was complete. Well, in the 1970s, Dr. Hulen's teacher, Morna Simeona, who is considered a treasure to the Hawaiian people, she was a Hawaiian kahuna who basically revealed herself to her mother at 3 years old, that she was connected to the all that is. And so she began her training as a kahuna at 3 years old. And in the 70s, she channeled a more quote unquote updated version of the ancient Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono to what is now known as self-identity through Ho'oponopono, or SITH, S-I-T-H. Excuse me. And so some of the core tenets of self-identity through Ho'oponopono are that there's nothing outside of us. Whatever we see, sense, feel, hear, know, or experience on the outside, it's an illusion. It has nothing to do with what's outside of us. The only thing that's important is that it comes from within us. And Ho'oponopono believes that the cause, the root cause for any problem, any issue, any source of suffering, are memories replaying in our subconscious mind. So there's a wonderful book called The User Illusion by Nortranders. That's Nortranders, The User Illusion. And in it, there's a statistic that it speaks about that for every 15, that's 15 bits of information per second that we have conscious awareness of, there are 11 to 15 million bits of information per second that we have no knowledge of. I'm going to repeat that. For every 15 bits of data per second that we have conscious awareness of, there are 11 to 15 million bits of data per second that we are not aware of. So how much do you think you are consciously creating your reality? Not so much so. Less than 1%, shall we say. So on the one hand, that can be unnerving, but on the other hand, if we accepted that that's just how it works when we're here in the body, then Ho'oponopono is a tool to address the root cause of all that we have no knowledge of, that's still creating our reality for us. Hopefully that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, write a question in the chat box and I will answer it shortly. Why this is so significant is because if we can't know the all of what it is that is the source of our problems, but we can still clear the problem, would that be something you would want to learn? Would that be something that you would find to be of value? I certainly did. And so because of working with energy, I know that there are so many layers to the energy that is us. This body is just one layer. Many of our speakers throughout today and the last few Saturdays have spoken about working with the energy, working with sound and the energy, the different aspects of the energy field that is us. If you believe that we are energy and quantum physics is a valid science and that everything is just vibrating at different frequencies, and so the lower the frequency, the more solid it appears to us. The higher the frequency, the less solidity there is, the less form. Then what we know is that everything in our reality is energy. Even those 11 to 15 million bits of information per second that we don't know of. What I love about this, why it makes so much sense to me, is you wonder, why do people get genetically linked disorders? Why are addictions generational, familial? Why is abuse generational, familial? What is it about this that shows up in one person in a family after a line of it showing up? Let me relanguage that. What is it about having many generations of, let's say, alcoholism or drug addiction in a person's family, in their lineage, and then there's this one person that it doesn't touch? Why not them? If we think of everything energetically, then all of the memories replaying that are causing or creating everything in our reality that we don't know about, right? They're coming from the energy field that is us. Even the diseases that we create. So much of medicine is saying that it's like a lock and key theory. The data may be there in the genetics, but unless you have certain behavior choices, that key doesn't get unlocked. Therefore, the dis-ease doesn't manifest. And yet there are other people in the family that choose a certain lifestyle, that lock and key, that key opens up the information that is the cause for that disease, and they manifest it. So now we're taking it to an even deeper level, and we're saying that it's memories replaying. It's thoughts. It's the essence of mind-body medicine. And so, to continue the story, so now I'm listening to this, and I'm listening to Hulen teaching about Ho'oponopono. It's December, a couple of days after Christmas, over 2 years ago, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, I know what this is. They're going for the quantum signature, but this is a different way of doing it. It's a very uncomplicated, simple way. And so all I kept saying was, I put my hands on my back and I said, to whatever memories are in me that are the cause of my back pain and my vertigo, on any and all levels that I am to atone for, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And I sat at my kitchen table and I repeated this over and over and over again for about an hour. And I don't know about you, but when I do healing work, no matter whether it's on my own or facilitated, emotions pour from me and the tears flow. It was not a pretty sight, shall we say, right? But what I can tell you is that in an hour, the pain was gone. The vertigo took a couple of days, but that particular pain has never come back. And so what about the PTSD? What happened with that, you might be asking? So I started using this prayer, this process, to address that as well. And so you can use this process as a way of supporting someone else who is suffering, but you are never directly offering it to them. Nothing is outside of us, remember. We only clear from ourselves. And so I started saying every morning and every night, and whenever I felt guided to whatever memories are in me that are the cause of the person who is the cause of my PTSD, for their suffering on any and all levels that I am to atone for. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. In 4 months, the experience of being in a relationship with this person totally changed. What was 90-some% a challenge and 5 to 10% a joy to spend time with them completely shifted. It became 90-some% joyful to 5 to 10% a problem. It was like a miracle, but it wasn't really a miracle. I was devoted to clearing this and devoted to releasing this person from their suffering, but I couldn't do it. But I trusted and knew that God, divine creator, and all of its wisdom, its infinite wisdom and compassion could. In 4 months, in a room with my family, this person basically expressed gratitude to everyone in the room for the experience that we were having together, and expressed love to everyone. Not something this person could do, except on rare occasions and not easily. So to me, it does feel magical at times. But the greatest gift is the peace that it brings. The ancient Hawaiians were very wise. And I am eternally grateful to Morna Simeona for updating this process to make it even more effortless and so easy to teach, because it's as simple as just saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, or just I love you repeatedly, or just thank you repeatedly. Whenever you're having a problem, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, don't engage in it. There's a wonderful question that Dr. Hulen would say. He's very Shakespeare knowledgeable, not my favorite thing, but you know, in Shakespeare, it is to be or not to be. That is the question, right? Well, the way he explains it is to be or not to be free of suffering, free of memories replaying. But I like to shift it even more, because it's to engage or not to engage. When we engage in the problem, we ask questions about it. We do our best to figure it out, that all that left brain need to understand, to make sense out of it all. If you give up the need to do that, then you stop engaging in the problem. And energetically, whatever we focus on expands and grows. And so if we're engaging in the problem, we are focusing on it, therefore it usually expands and grows. Ho'oponopono invites us to have a different perspective. It invites us to not engage, simply because it creates more of the problem. And so what we're invited to do is, instead of engaging, just keep clearing. And how we do that, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, or just I love you, or just thank you. There are many nuances and clearing tools besides I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And I love teaching this to clients. So if this is something that you would like to learn, reach out to me. you have all my contact information under the bios in the event description. And I believe it's even in the chat room. Please feel free. Or reach out to me through my website, schedule some session time with me, or even the rest of today. I am blocked off between 7:45 and 8 o'clock, but the rest of the time I am available to answer your questions, to create a Ho'oponopono clearing statement for you to start using to create shift, to create peace for you or for someone you love, right? So that is my Ho'oponopono story, and I'm sticking to it. And so we use Ho'oponopono as a tool for clearing, but there are many other tools for clearing. And to me, clearing is all about releasing whatever energy no longer serves us to hold on to so that we can be at peace, to feel the balance between all the aspects of who we are, to be that loving presence in our relationship with ourselves first, and then with our source as we believe it to be in our relationships with others and our life experiences. It is the magical key that is our ability to manifest whatever our heart desires. It's not a magic formula. It's just a simple way of being. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Or just I love you. Or just thank you. Right? So, Ho'oponopono as one tool for clearing, but then we have our essential oils. And our essential oils are so wonderful to us. And so I'm just going to do a quick review. And I'm just going to check the chat real fast. Let me just see here.
We're doing okay.
We are doing okay. Are there any questions that, so this question is from Christina. Do you see how long will it take me to clear? If your question is how long does it take for someone to normally clear something? Is that your question? You can unmute yourself if you would like to talk with me and answer that.
Alt-A will unmute you.
So I'm going to assume that that's what your meaning is, Christina. And so it's good to not have any expectations about how long it will take to clear something. For this experience, as I just shared it with you, in 4 months, I was able to see a significant change. But if you think I've stopped saying it, I haven't. I say it when I wake up in the morning. It comes off my lips. I say it frequently during the day. Hello?
Hello. Yeah. Thank you.
Christina, is that you?
Yes.
Okay. So can you explain, where are you? Let me see if I can see you.
No, not see me,
Was my interpretation of your question correct?
Yes, I'm. Of course, the process is painful, so I want to not be attached to outcome, but at the same time, I want to have a feeling of how long this is going to last.
Understood. I can't tell you how long, and you do have to be in a space of no expectation of outcome, and what I invite you to do is be the observer. Because when we are the observer, then we're able to see the nuances of change as it is occurring in our lives. For me, with this particular experience, because it was so personal and so painful, I found that to engage with this person did nothing. It only exaggerated everything and made it worse. So I stopped engaging. I created very healthy boundaries and I stopped engaging. And it was only when I stopped engaging that I stopped creating more of the problem. Because remember, there's nothing outside of us. It's only within. So when I stopped engaging, which means I stopped answering, I stopped responding to, I was polite, but I didn't keep the conversation going when it started going south, when it wasn't comfortable anymore. And the more that I did that, and the more that I kept saying the Ho'oponopono prayer as I languaged it to whatever memories are in me that is the cause of this person's suffering on any and all levels that I am to atone for, because it's about someone outside of me. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, or just I love you repeatedly, or just thank you repeatedly. Because it wasn't about her. It was about clearing whatever is in me that was a source of their suffering. And so I just kept clearing and clearing and clearing, because what I know is God in its infinite wisdom and compassion, as it's cleared from me, that pattern, whatever that pattern of suffering is cleared from this person and anyone else on the planet that has the same pattern of suffering. Does that make sense to you, how I'm languaging that?
Yes.
Right. And not only that, now, just imagine this, not only that, as if that's not powerful enough, it goes back through time, space, dimensions, realities, back to the beginning of creation. So if we have addictions or abuse behaviors in our family tree, like I do, then each time I clear this energy of abusive behavior from me, not that I'm abusive, but the energy of it is in me, there is nothing outside of me, then it is cleared from me, it is cleared from all of my family that exists now, it is cleared from my ancestral tree, from everyone that came before me, because it's in my genes. Remember, everyone that came before me is in my energy field. Back to the beginning of creation. But it doesn't just stop there. It also clears it from everyone and anyone on the planet that shares the same pattern of energy. Yeah. I can't tell you how incredibly grateful I am for this. But when you have an expectation, Christina, what I want to say to you is you're engaging in it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense if I language it that way? Yeah?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. And so the goal is not to engage. It's a process of learning and making conscious choice to not engage when our default behaviors in this realm are to engage. It just is, right? So, did that answer your question, sweetie?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead and mute yourself back up again. Let me see where we are time-wise. Okay. Are there any other questions that anyone has? I'm happy to answer them about this or about anything else that we've spoken about tonight so far.
Just unmute yourself and ask your questions. Anything that you spoke about.
So Michelle, thank you for recommending the book Zero Limits by Joe Vitale and Dr. E. Haleakala Hulen. It is a wonderful book. And quite frankly, Joe Vitale is not my best teacher. I went through that book first. I listened to it on Audible. This was after I did the coursework because I didn't feel drawn to the book initially. And then I listened to it. And then I bought the book and I highlighted and reviewed. It was my morning gift to myself, all of Dr. Hulen's gifts of wisdom that he shared. It is a wonderful book and definitely something that I highly recommend if you are interested in learning more about this wonderful process of forgiveness, of problem solving, and of healing, right? Thank you, Christina, for saying you love it. Paula, thank you. Use it all the time. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay, so, all right. Whoops, what did I just do here? Okay, let me just close the chat out. Okay, so what else can we share that has to do with what needs to be heard? So this came up for me this morning and I wasn't sure how to incorporate it because I had already committed to talking about essential oils. So you'll forgive me, I'm not going to talk about them tonight. But if you have questions about them, I love to share about essential oils and aromatherapy and how they are a wonderful therapeutic tool, a gift of Mother Nature, right? So if you ever want to learn about them, just please reach out to me. I literally love to share, and I have been sharing for over 20 years. They're part of my day-to-day life. I can't tell you how much I appreciate and value the gift that they are. So what I had connected to this morning that I felt really needed to be shared was all about what's been going on the last 10 days. With a show of hands in the chat, a yes, just type in yes. Have the last 10 days, almost 2 weeks, been challenging for you emotionally or physically? Okay. Anybody else? Thank you. Yeah. Yes and yes. Yes and yes. Too much. Yes. Okay. Okay. I hear you. Yes, yes, yes. I hear you. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. I want to say to you, boy, are you not alone. There is a dynamic that's going on right now that I have been soul searching to receive wisdom to understand, not to engage in it because that makes it feel so uncomfortable, but to receive the wisdom that I can then share. And what I'm guided to share with you is this. As the frequency on the planet increases, as we are going through ascension, that process of evolution or evolving into being conscious beings, being that loving presence in our relationship with ourselves first, and all that that entails, and how we express it, right? Energetic healing is a core tenet or a core aspect of energy healing is those of us that facilitate healing using energy techniques, we are holding a little bit of a higher vibration than the client we're working with, and we are stirring their energetic pot. Now, what happens when we stir a pot? All that stuff from the bottom starts coming up to the surface, right? And we want that because we don't want that stuff sticking to the bottom of whatever we're stirring. Well, energetically, when our energy pot is stirred and our issues come up, then they're in our face. And I don't know about you, but being an empath, I have done my very best to support myself during these extraordinary times that we're all living with and living in and through, because the volume of emotional energy that is being expressed is massive. And the majority of it is triggered or triggering low vibrational emotions, emotions of fear, anger, which is always an expression of fear in my belief systems. Grieving is a huge constellation of emotions that so many people are expressing and experiencing. And all of those emotions are dense and uncomfortable. And if you're an empath, meaning you feel other people's energy, especially emotional energy, then we get to a point where we reach like almost like critical mass and we can't process anymore. And if we can't keep clearing it and we can't process it, it's as if we develop a physical manifestation of dis-ease to create an ability for us to isolate so that we're not needing to deal with anyone or anything in front of us, not literally, but figuratively. And so it takes time, once we realize what's going on, that we are overloaded with emotional energy and we have not been sufficiently capable of clearing it from wherever it's coming from. It takes time for the body to catch up. So imagine just being alive on this planet right now with so much love being poured onto the planet through the solar rays of our sun. And everyone, how many people are on the planet? Trillions, are having their energy fields stirred and emotions coming up. And whatever is an issue is being triggered. The sheer volume of it is massive. It's the same when you have two people in a relationship and one person's awake consciously and the other person is still snoring, sound asleep. And the one that's awake is doing their best to be loving, caring, conscious, nurturing on many different levels, but especially from the heart. And the other person is watching the news 24/7 and drinking and smoking and doing all the things that are very third dimensional and not healthy, right? Not good, bad, right, wrong, just choices. And they're always at each other's throats. There's always a challenge. There's always an issue because the difference between them is so exaggerated. What happens, what's really happening is this. The person who is choosing to be awake spiritually, who is choosing to evolve, to come home to their heart in who they are being with themselves first, is holding the higher vibration. And simply by breathing and standing there, they're stirring the energy pot of their partner or their family members or their coworkers or their friends. So if you've noticed that relationships are more challenging, if you haven't worked on them in a conscious way, that you're finding that they are just getting worse, that's why. It's not a good, bad, right, wrong. Do your best to not engage or judge it, but love yourself through it. Do what you can to support and nurture you with conscious choices. And Ho'oponopono is a perfect tool for that, where you simply say to whatever memories are in me that are the cause of this challenge in this relationship on any and all levels that I am to atone for. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And just say it repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. Okay? Okay. I don't know how much more time I have. I started a little bit after 7. Sheri, what time do you want me to complete?
Like now.
Very good. So
When I show up again.
Pardon?
When I appear again.
I don't see you though. You're not on my screen. Hold on.
I'm here.
Yeah, I don't see you. Hold on. Let me just see if I can put you up. There you are. Okay. All right. So No Q&A. If you have questions, come visit me in my room. I'm in breakout room 18. I'm offering Ho'oponopono clearing statements to support you, personalized to your needs, and I am happy to offer you session time if you so desire. So go on and get a free pass. Come visit with me and play. And I am going to give another raffle, another door prize, a real quick one, okay?
Wow, beautiful. All right, everybody in the room, I want you to write down your number in the chat from what to what?
0 to 300.
0 to 300. Everybody take a guess, and what are you going to give away?
I'm going to give the same thing away. I will give an hour Akashic Records reading and an aromatherapy assessment.
Beautiful.
It's valued at over $350. So please feel free.
Beautiful. Everybody put your guess in the chat. Eileen's going to write down a number, and a lucky winner, like the price is right, the closest number is going to win. Only the guest may apply, not the practitioners.
Okay. All right.
And if anybody wants to do trades with each other as practitioners, you got to work that out with each other based on availability. Okay, it's coming in. You wrote down, and we got, keep going. Let's get some more numbers, valued at $350. Akashic record session and a essential oil analysis with the heart healer, Ilene Gottlieb.
Okay.
We got some single numbers, doubles, and triples.
We do. And I think we have a winner here. All right. Is everybody, one more?
Get your numbers in, everybody. Move.
Is that everybody?
Up. Going once. Going twice. Okay.
Okay, then Alyssa McBride, you are my winner at 333.
Alyssa, I think she won 3 times today.
Did she? Wow, then this is her lucky day. Wonderful.
I think she really did. What? Well, you're
Wonderful. I look forward. Alyssa, I'm going to get your, if you would send me a private chat with your email address and your phone number, and I will send you a gift certificate, and then we'll chat and figure out when is a good time to do your session. All right.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Eileen.
My joy. Thank you, Sheri.